Okay, now we're going to go over section 1.5b, anatomical terms, directional terms. Okay, again, we need to be in anatomical position, standing upright, facing forward, arms at your sides, palms facing forward. Okay, so now anything towards the front of the body is going to be anterior, otherwise known as ventral. So for example, my sternum is anterior to my vertebral column. It is in front of. So anterior means in front of. Another term we can use is ventral. The opposite of anterior is posterior. And the term for that we can also use is dorsal. So my occipital region of my head is posterior to my nasal region, which is my nose. It's in back of. In anatomical position, the back of my head is in back of my nose. It doesn't matter which way I'm facing because remember, we are always referencing anatomical position. Okay? So, anterior, posterior, anything that's towards the midline here, we call medial. So imagine standing here with a Sharpie. You draw right down the middle. Sharpie. Now, that extends down here to the floor. So anything close to that line we call medial. So if I'm having chest pain here, it's medial. Abdominal pain here, it's medial. Pelvic pain here, it's medial. The opposite of that is lateral. And think of football. When you lateral the ball, it's off to the side. Okay? So now, if this is medial, that means this is lateral. My ears are lateral. 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 It's off to the side. Okay? Now, where it becomes not so tricky, but when it becomes very important that we're in anatomical position, is our extremities of our limbs, our arms, our upper extremities, and our lower extremities. Okay? So now, for anatomical position, this portion of my arm. So remember, this is brachial, this is antebrachial. If the outside portion of my arm is injured, that is actually farther away from the midline than the inside portion of my arm. So let me back up so you can see. So this would be my lateral antebrachial region. This would be my medial antebrachial region. Same thing with the hands in anatomical position. It's always in relation to the midline. So my little finger here is medial compared to my thumb because it's my little finger is closer to the midline. That means that this is medial, this is lateral. It's further away from the midline. Okay, same goes with legs. We're going to come back to the hand in a second, so somebody please remind me. I'm alone. Same with legs. Okay, if I have pain in the medial aspect of my thigh or my femoral region, medial is going to be here. Lateral is here because in anatomical position, that imaginary line, the medial line, is here. So medial, lateral. Back to fingers. Let's take it even more as an extreme. Okay, so thumb is lateral, little finger is medial. Let's say I have a laceration or a cut to my index finger here. This is lateral, this is medial, because in anatomical position, this lateral aspect is farther away from the midline than the medial aspect, which is closer to the midline. Okay? So that's lateral and medial. Always remember, this is the patient's right, this is the patient's left. It doesn't matter if they're standing like this. If they're curled up in a fetal position, this will always be my right hand. Next, what do we have here? Oh, superior and inferior. If I think I'm superior to you, I'm above you. If I think that I'm inferior to you, I'm below you. Okay? So superior we use for the head, chest, and abdominal pelvic region. Abdominal pelvic. Yes, I can speak. Regions. Okay, so superior means above. So my head is superior to my thoracic region, my chest. My thoracic region is superior to my abdominal region. My abdominal region is superior to my pelvic region. Inferior is below. So my chest, thoracic region is inferior to my head. My pelvic region is inferior to my abdominal region. Okay? Now we use superior and inferior only with the head, chest, and abdomen, abdominal pelvic. We don't use superior and inferior with the arms, legs. So your extremities and your limbs, we don't use that. We have a special term. And the special terms that we use for extremities or limbs, let me jack this up, are proximal and distal. If I am standing in close proximity to you, I'm really close to you. If I'm very far from you, I'm at a long distance. So what does that mean? That means that your arms are attached to your body by your shoulder. Normally. If they're not, you need to go to the hospital. Your legs are attached to your body by the hips, okay? So we always use proximal and distal in relation to the point of attachment. So let's look at the upper limb. Let's look at the arm. The closer you are to the shoulder, the more proximal you are. The further away you are from the shoulder, the more distal you are, okay? So this would be my proximal upper limb, my distal upper limb. Proximal leg, distal leg. And we can actually break that down into smaller and smaller regions, okay? So remember, sorry for the gun show. Arm day at the gym today. So if we look at the brachial region, remember brachial is between the shoulder, the acromial region, and the bendy spot of the arm, antecubital, or cubital is this region. So if we look at the brachial region, if we're up here close to the shoulder, it's the proximal brachial region. If we are further away from the shoulder, this will be the distal brachial region. Same goes with antebrachial. This is my proximal antebrachial region, and this is my distal antebrachial region, because it's always in relation to the point of attachment. Okay, so that's proximal and distal. Let's see, cranial and caudal. Cranial is towards the head, caudal is towards the tail. We don't have a tail anymore. Well, I don't. So cranial is this way, caudal is this way. I think that's about it. Wow. Okay. If I raise my right arm, let's say I injure my right arm in a car wreck, okay? I'm the passenger, all right? The door's here, T-bone wreck. I injure my right arm and my right leg. Those are called ipsilateral. Ipsa means same side. It's not in a textbook. It's in our slide deck, okay? Ipsilateral means same side. Contralateral means opposite sides. Like if I say to you, hey, what's the weather like outside? And you tell me it's sunny and I say, no, it's rainy. I've contradicted you. Contra means opposite or against. So if I raise my right arm and then I raise my left arm, these are contralateral limbs. If I injure my right shoulder, so right acromial region, and my left coxal region, left hip, those are contralateral injuries, opposite sides. Okay, I think that's about it.